Right, so it's time for a test drive for the VUDU rear gearbox mount, which I have already noticed because I fired the car up just to show you the before and after of the movement that you get when it's in gear and you're trying to pull away on the clutch, which was the main reason I was fitting this for, and it does seem to do that very well. What I did notice was on startup you feel the vibration come through the car. I think this is what a lot of people don't like and it puts them off doing it. I was initially going to try out various torque settings on the bolts, but I think the issue is if no matter which brand you've got, although the bushings will obviously the polyurethane bushes will influence a lot of the vibration, I think the main issue is that mounting bracket that you've got on the actual chassis itself closes onto the metal part or the metal sleeve inside the urethane bush, so of course that you've got metal on metal, and that's where you're going to get most of the vibration. And I may have I didn't use a torque wrench, I just did it by hand. It would have been sort of 30 Newton meters, so it's not stupidly tight. So if you are having problems with it vibrating, something I'm probably going to do myself is take the just take the main the larger polyurethane bush, take the long bolt out of there, see if the mounting will actually swing down a bit, and it's just so you can try and widen up the bracket that's actually part of the car itself, and then just very loosely tighten well, I say loosely, sort of hand tight but not overdo it, and if you're worried about it coming undone, that I noticed there is a bit of thread coming out the back of the captive nut, so what you can then do is put another nut on the back of where the captive nut is and tighten that down a little bit to it, and then that way it will act against each other and stop the thing shaking loose. Or you could use a bit of thread lock or something like that. So yeah, I don't need to really experiment with the torques on it, because I think what's happening is people are just torquing them up and it's just crushing the because you saw the difficulty I had actually trying to get the thing in place. I've actually used a mallet or a hammer to actually put it in place, so it's obviously too tight for it anyway, so that's where I think the adjustment in a lot of this vibration lies. But let's take it for a test drive, because I've also done, you might have noticed there was a bit of goo in the picture when I was showing you the after shot of the engine mounting. That's because I've done a gearbox oil change, which will be in another video. So yeah, this is a test drive for both of those. So it's still, yeah, rush hour's just finished, so I might have a few open roads, but I can't go too far because I've left the house unlocked. Yeah, so it sounds different, it feels different at idle. It's at fast idle at the moment because the engine's well, it's not cold, but it's yeah, we're doing 1100 RPM. But right, I've got to struggle to get off this driveway because it's not actually a proper driveway with a dropped curb, so it gets a little bit tight. Last curb, whoops. Once you've got a few more revs, the vibration goes away, but I don't know if that comes across at all when can you feel it? So when I take it off idle, there's a vibration there, which could get on one's nerves. But this feels fine. Yeah, there's basically no slack in the when you engage the clutch anymore though, which I'll go this way. To temper a little bit, but uphill, you have right of way over oncoming traffic that person gave way, which is very nice. Could well be something I've just made up. Shit. 'Cause, 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 'cause I think with VUDU and even some of the other brands, they do sell at the rear engine, I keep calling it engine, a rear gearbox mount, along with a short shift adapter as well, so you can get a much crisper gear change in every sense. So I can't see for speed bands. There we go. Shifting with heel and toe is much better with this. Yeah, you can see why people do these. Well, it's modification, isn't it? Yeah, it just firms up. Just firms up the gear change so well. VUDU, they actually advertise it saying it stops like the bounce you get on wheel spin, which I notice more on like things like Volkswagen Golf GTIs and the Seat versions as well. This is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I think I can forgive a bit of vibration at idle. Time will tell actually, because when I've got to commute to work in traffic, it might start to become a bit boring, but yeah, this is just a better driving experience with such a simple sort of modification. They are quite expensive, admittedly. They're actually over 100 quid to buy new. And you've got the VUDU. I think, yeah, they make some very nice products for the Fiesta STs. I say STs because I think they do them for the Mark 6 and Mark 8s as well. Speaking of VUDU, actually, forgive me for going to be waffling on a bit here, but I was looking into getting. They've never really interested me, maps, because it feels like a bit of a fake way of tuning the car, because I'm a little bit more old school, or such a boomer as my daughter calls me. But yeah, it's not like cheating, but what sort of convinced me a little bit is that I looked at getting a stage 2 VUDU map on this, which is the same price of getting a stage 1. So I thought, oh, why is that then? And what you have to do is, when you have the stage 2 map, is you have to actually change a couple of things on the car. So stage 1s tend to need a different air intake. That's why there's a. Are they crossing or what? Stupid highway code giving them the right of way, but then they don't go. Anyway, what was I on about? Yes, yeah, so you have to, for the stage 2, you end up having to change the intercooler, which, oh, I'll park somewhere else. You have to change the intercooler, which is fine. You can pick up one of those for a few quids, about 100, I'd say, to have a slightly larger intercooler, which you need as part of the stage 2 package, and let's say. But what I don't like is the fact that this has already got a sports exhaust on it. The guy that owned this before me paid 500 quid for it. But for the stage 2, you need to have either a DCAT, which is no good to me, because when I take it for an MOT, or if I sell the car on, obviously if your car hasn't got a catalytic converter, it won't pass emissions, so you have to have a MOT done by people you know who'll do it on the Dodge slightly. Or you can have one with a sports cat, but again it means having to replace basically almost all the system and having a lot of custom work done, which would cost just far too much money. So you end up with the let's say like the £300 remap, you've got £100 you've got the £100 intercooler, so it all seems fine. The air intake, I've already got the mount tune one, but I'd need to get a bigger one for stage 2, which I'm looking to do anyway. I want to get a R-Sport induction kit. That's my sort of favourite looking one. VUDU do their own one, which is actually based on, it's got their logos on it, but it's actually based on another product. I think it's InGen, if it's pronounced right, because we're InGen. Because there is actually a really nice InGen air intake, but it only works on, it'll fit the European cars, but it only works with the American stuff because of the for some reason the air, the way it reads air is different. I don't know why the American ones are, but if you fit the InGen American style air intake on it, you'll keep throwing up the error codes that I used to get on this when I had the induction kit that was falling apart on here. However, the InGen kit, which VUDU recommends you have with their maps, and they've put their label on as well, is this weird one. It looks more like a leg cast or something. You've got this funny shaped, like foot shaped foam filter, and then sort of a short ram that fits similar to all of the other types. But the R-Sport I like because that one's actually got quite a big pipe, and it goes all the way down to the cooler area that the mount tune airbox is getting some from, and then it takes a lot from the front as well. And I just think it's a better looking one. I think you're going to get cooler air from that one, and they're about £130. But of course, for a stage 2 remap to cost with that custom exhaust and all this other stuff, and that, then you're looking at thousands of pounds, and this car's depreciating like a stone now. I think given what I paid for it, was quite cheap because it was trade and there was a lot wrong with it. But of course, even if you don't include the my work hours, my labour into this, the parts cost has been fairly extensive. I know a lot of it was sort of unnecessary. It was the important stuff to get it running as a proper car. A lot of what it needed was wear and tear parts, the lack of servicing, so obviously I've had to have a lot of oil and filters and that in a short space of time, just to catch up with that. I don't think I've saved much money on this car. It's still if everything was done to get it to standard where you could sell it in a retail environment, it would have been about £10,000, and I think I've probably spent that on it now, given that I got it cheaper, but I've had to spend loads on it. But that is sort of the way with cars. As a trade-in now, I'd be like, I think it's in the fours now, as in £4,000 plus. And yeah, to sell this second hand, I might get £6,000 maybe. So I can't really warrant spending putting over £1,000 on it just to make it go a little bit faster. So I'm just going to just do whatever bits I sort of fancy on it as and when, and then not go too mad on this, because of course I do have the Manta project that I need to actually focus a lot of my resources on. This is my daily drive. It's also a bit of a workhorse at the moment until I can find a van. And but yeah, that mount, the VUDU engine mount that was something I've had for quite a while. It was a bit of an impulse purchase because I saw it on eBay. It was not many of them come up that often, so I just made an offer, they accepted, so I got one quite cheap and was meaning to fit it. The gearbox oil change, again, that's part of normal servicing. In fact, that's something else that's going to, where I was having trouble getting into first and second. I didn't notice any of that while I was driving around, but then that was only just a short little run. It is still, so the clutch is down fully. No, I didn't do it that time. Yeah, don't always get it, but sometimes there's this tiny bit of movement just as you put it in gear, and that which feels like a clutch going, but with a clutch I'm just going to drive it until it really starts slipping, and then get it changed. And I say get it changed, I won't attempt that myself, because I think some of the front wheel drive cars with everything's all packed in and you have to start dropping subframes, and I don't fancy doing that on a driveway. So that would be something I'd get somebody else to do. Unless I might just do some research first, actually see how easy it is, but I'm pretty certain it's not something I fancy doing on a driveway. Next year, of course, we've got a lot of I've got a lot of work to do on this. It's a major service, including cam belt or timing belt, if you like to call them that, which is a bit of a ball ache, but it's even worse on the wet belt 3-cylinder EcoBoost engines. This is a 4-cylinder, so the timing belt's external with a plastic cover on it, so that is still in the realms of my sort of capabilities, albeit somewhat more complicated than I'm used to. So, in conclusion, then, yeah, I do recommend the VUDU rear gearbox mounting, and also, yeah, you might find a mount tune and other products. Like I mentioned earlier with the Revo ones, that's probably better for racing, but I'd personally experiment with that, with the mounting bracket at the back, just trying to widen it up the best you can, and then just softly do up the large bolt. Just so you're not getting that metal on metal, and the polyurethane bush is what's taking out the vibration. But it's yeah, I'm starting to enjoy the vibrations now, so let's turn this off. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I'm just pouring a drink. Would anybody else like anything?